Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals and the crown and politics. Our user feedback is about our political coverage, and we end with our weekly feature, the comments of the week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 74. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra. I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So I'm kind of mellowed out today. I hope I'm sounding normal. I didn't take any medicine or anything, but I used this magnesium spray on my neck because I slept wrong on it and it's all sore. I hate that. And it really makes me feel weird. So I'm going to try to talk normal and act normal, but you might notice I'm kind of wacky today.
Well, I don't understand. So it's a magnesium spray that you put in your mouth?
No, you just spray it on your body. I don't know how it works, but I swear it makes me feel kind of loopy. I do. It does.
Yeah.
It's nice, but I don't want to sound weird.
No, I've been sleeping wrong. Both my parents had early onset arthritis, so I'm always very nervous when I wake up and I'm my body just feels terrible.
Yes.
And then I have this cat who likes to sleep on my pillow, and I'm twisting away from him in the night because I don't want to sleep on top of him. And so I've been waking up a lot with my neck sore, my shoulders, everything.
Yes, it hurts. I have a wedge pillow, 2 orthopedic pillows, Bucky. I just keep buying pillows and I talk about it in the Amazon post. I tried this pillow, and I still wake up with my neck in a crick. But I like that magnesium stuff. I try not to take it during the weekdays, just on the weekends, because it makes me wacky like the CBD oil does. But.
Well, I know you don't like to take over-the-counter stuff, but I have started to swear by Aleve arthritis. It's back in arthritis, I think that's the name of it. It really works.
Nice.
It just makes everything feel so much looser.
Okay, maybe I'll try that. It's the same with over-the-counter stuff. It makes me a little whacked out, and I'm always getting affected by every drug I take, which sucks. So I guess that's good and bad. But we're going to take next week off because of Thanksgiving in the U.S., and then we'll be back for 3 weeks, and then we're going to take 2 weeks off around Christmas. So we'll be off the first week after Christmas and the second week after Christmas. Okay. I'll put it in the post for this episode. It's 74. It sounds complicated, but it's not.
No, I get it.
Okay. I don't know what to talk about.
So, it has been kind of a slow week. I feel like the only really big pop culture story is The Crown, which you've started to watch.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I started seeing all the articles about it that you're covering, which are bonkers, and it looked like the royals were freaking out over it, so I'm I gotta see this. And I can't believe how good it is.
I was a big fan of the first 2 seasons, and then everyone was like, oh, but season 3 is horrible. So I never watched that, and I haven't gotten around to watching season 4 yet because I've been covering all this stuff, and I'm well, I know all of this.
And it feels like work.
Yeah, it will feel like work for me, but I know all of this, and I'm interested in seeing it dramatized, but I'll see it eventually. But you are into it now. But you weren't into the first 2 seasons with Claire Foy as the queen?
No, I only watched maybe 2 episodes. I was this is too stodgy for me, and it felt like work. And I thought that's what this season was going to do too. But I started watching it, and it was so trashy, and the costuming and the settings were beautiful, and they make you want to be there and feel like you are there. And the dialogue is dishy. People don't talk like that, but it's still awesome to listen to them.
And even with season 1 and 2, and those are more of the prestige costume drama. Those are the seasons where Claire Foy and Matt Smith were winning all of these awards, and everyone was oh, The Crown is such a prestige drama. There were still all of these line readings where you were okay, no, that dialogue doesn't make any sense. But again, I think as the Diana season, they're getting the broad strokes right.
They don't speak that directly. Nobody does. But you can see how she was mistreated, and what happened to her and how she was emotionally abused. And it's I'm only 4 episodes into it, but I watched them all in one weeknight, which is like amazing for me. I couldn't stop, and then I'm like, okay, I got to step away from this. I'll keep watching it and seeing what happens.
What do you think of Emma Corrin? Do you think she's a good Diana?
Yeah, she gets her mannerisms and the way she spoke down, and it's kind of fascinating to watch. And I really like Gillian Anderson as Margaret Thatcher. I know some people say she's cartoonish in the role, but in the first couple episodes, she makes her somewhat sympathetic.
Yeah.
Now her true personality is coming out, but it's fun to watch.
And that was a complaint of like small R Republicans about the first few seasons of The Crown, was that by putting Claire Foy as the queen, like she was so attractive and she was so prim and proper. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, well, the real queen wasn't like that. She wasn't this beautiful young lady who did what everyone said. She wasn't like that really. But again, they got the broad strokes right. Mm-hmm. By putting such attractive actresses in these roles of complicated women, they are making them more appealing. The real people more appealing.
Yeah. Olivia Colman is killing it as the older queen, and she's making her sympathetic too. Mm-hmm. There's moments when she's vulnerable, when she's really trying, when she admits the limitations of her upbringing. I liked it way more than I expected. Thank you for telling me it was fine to cover a Crown story, because I was like, oh, can I do a story on them? And you're like, sure. And then I looked that day, we had so many stories on the Crown, but it was still fun because while I was watching it, I'm like, did that happen? Did that happen? And I kept looking it up.
I mean, it's a good series. Yeah, let's just go ahead and transition to like all of the... It started over the weekend. I mean, The Crown dropped this past Sunday, and just over the weekend there started to be all of these stories, and you could tell that there were people in the palaces freaking out about... I mean, really, like they were seriously freaking out about The Crown season 4 and everything that it entailed, specifically Charles and Diana, and how Charles and the entire family mistreated Diana.
And they were blaming the Sussexes, like they do too, even though I have nothing to do with this, for making a deal with Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix is just the streaming service. There's a million shows on Netflix. How is that at all related? And they did it multiple times in several different articles. It was outrageous.
Well, yeah, and the whole point of the criticism is that the royal reporters or the royal commentators are acting like Netflix only makes money off of The Crown. No, that is not true whatsoever. Netflix spends so much money on The Crown, and who even knows if they even make a profit on that. The whole issue of Netflix is only The Crown. No, Netflix has a lot of other programming, like, say, a nature documentary done by what's-his-face Attenborough.
David Attenborough. Yeah.
Prince William, did the most to promote that documentary, which is a Netflix documentary. Ugh.
But nobody mentions that because Prince William is beyond reproach.
Yeah.
But he was incandescent with rage at the way his parents are being exploited and presented in a false, simplistic way to make money.
They didn't even have to say with rage. Emotion. They just said he's incandescent. And we understand. Yeah, he's a rage monster. Yeah. That William story was a little bit weird because, as I said, it feels mostly like it's Prince Charles who's freaking out about it, because obviously he was the one who was married to Diana. He was the one who mistreated her the most. He cheated on her, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of it has felt like Clarence House issued talking points for their favorite royal reporters, royal commentators, because they're all saying very similar things. Oh, Lord Mountbatten never wrote Charles a letter. No, but Dickie Mountbatten did tell Charles that it was time to stop fucking around with married women. He needed to get married himself and provide an heir. That's true. Yeah. Dickie did do that. Maybe he didn't do it in a letter, but he did do it. And everyone was talking about, oh, when did he and Camilla start sleeping together again? Personally, I don't think they ever stopped. But if you want to argue that they stopped for maybe a year or two when he was first married to Diana, sure. But this whole, he and Camilla didn't have an affair for years into his marriage. Yeah, That's bullshit.
That's what Richard K. just said. It doesn't matter because it was an emotional affair and he wasn't there for Diana.
No.
Not even at the beginning of their relationship. They just dumped her in the palace right after they got engaged.
Right.
It's shown on The Crown. I don't know how true that is, but
no, it is very true. And
yeah,
Charles and Camilla were having an affair throughout his courtship with Diana.
And Diana did go to lunch with Camilla. Camilla did send her a note and try to befriend her because Diana talked about a lot of that stuff, and it's something.
Yeah, but not to be like a Camilla apologist. But Camilla was coming at it from the aristocratic point of view of, everybody cheats and everybody just puts up with it. She was thinking that Diana knew, of course your husband is going to cheat and he's going to cheat with me and you can have affairs too. She thought Diana knew that and Diana didn't.
Because she was so young, even though she came from that same social set.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus Camilla's husband cheated on her too. It's not like she was in a love match.
I always thought everyone always thinks that Camilla truly did love Andrew Parker Bowles.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he cheated on her. He was a famous swordsman, I think they say in the UK.
Whoa, that's so gross. I have heard that before, but it's so scripted.
There's another Britishism that I love. It's a leg over merchant. Is that what it's called? Like a leg over merchant?
What? What is that? Is that a guy who gets around?
Like the British thing of putting a leg over, it's a shag, and then a leg over merchant is a serial cheater.
Okay, at least I don't get this visual in my head when I like the other one.
I might have completely screwed that up. Maybe the British people will send us angry messages.
It's okay. They won't. They don't care. Oh, so in our Zoom, we asked Sarah, who was there, if it's true that everybody called Margaret Thatcher Milk Snatcher. And she had this awesome story about it. So I wanted to play that. And then we talked a little about The Crown. This is Sarah, Zakiya, Karen, and Lisa. And you can hear Zakiya's little dog in the background running around.
So I was born in 1983 and I had free milk carton every day until I was about 6. So the first 2 years of school. And yeah, she basically took milk out of the hands of children. That is one of the least damaging things she did. Margaret Thatcher hated everyone. When she died, people were out in the street singing Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. Like my nan hated her with a passion. She's just universally hated.
Well, and Camilla not having any shame. And that now she's going to watch the show with a glass of wine and sit back like it's some freaking soap opera she can enjoy. Watching how Diana was treated and then on top of it, hear her come out of her face saying, I was done. I was really ready to take my earrings off and put some Vaseline and fight her. What? Who does that? The audacity.
If the people in the royal family hadn't been all worked up over The Crown, I wouldn't even watched it. I hadn't watched the first 3 seasons. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to watch this. I was hooked from episode 1 of season 4. So
it reminds me of the reaction before Finding Freedom came out, and I think it's really similar in that the truth is actually so much worse than what they're showing on The Crown, that they're freaking out so much that they're showing their hand more because, while what's on The Crown is really unflattering, the reality, I think, is probably even worse, and that was what the reaction to Finding Freedom was so disproportionate to what was actually in the book, which tells you whatever really happened must have been even more atrocious.
Okay, so I wanted to include what Lisa said about how they're reacting to The Crown like everybody reacted to Finding Freedom. It's like they expected it to be worse than it is.
Yeah, that's very true of the comparison of overreacting and the Streisand effect of it all.
Yes.
I do think that in the situation of The Crown, and it's the point that everyone keeps on making in the comments and in commentary, is that this is blowing up 15 years of Charles' very careful PR around his marriage to Camilla and around how Camilla is going to be a princess consort, but not really. She's going to be the queen.
Yeah.
And like he spent all of this time and money to do it so gently, and there's all this massaging PR of, oh, you know, he just wants Camilla to be accepted, and the Crown is blowing all of that up. So
Yeah.
even though the Crown is perhaps generous to Charles and his predicament and, you know, how damaging the monarchy is to these individuals, it's still fucking him up in very real ways. So
yeah. It's making him look like he treated the mother of his sons terribly.
And he did.
So, yeah, he did. And then there was that article in Vanity Fair you covered. A lot of people liked it, that Camilla is a fan of The Crown and she'd watched the other seasons and she'll probably watch this with a glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's unbothered, supposedly.
Yeah.
And that rubs people the wrong way, too.
Yeah, the Vanity Fair article, it had a very odd tone. The whole, kick back with a glass of wine and watch The Crown, that was what the Royals PR was saying in the first 2 seasons of The Crown. It was like, oh, secretly they enjoy it. You know, secretly the Queen kind of likes The Crown. They were saying stuff like that. And now that shit is getting real, I don't think they can keep on saying, oh, you know, they're just going to kick back with a glass of wine. And yeah, Camilla was an active participant in destroying Diana. Yeah. There are people who are always going to hate Camilla because of what she did throughout the Wales marriage and the fact that she's still around, that she's married to Charles and she's stepmother to Diana's son.
Yeah. It's like what Zakiya said. It doesn't sit right that she's going to say that she'll sit around and drink a glass of wine and watch how they destroyed Diana. Mm-hmm. But she's trying not to sound like she cares, I guess, if this quote is accurate. I mean, it's in Vanity Fair. It's from the palace. And then they quoted some other royal biographer in that piece, and you covered this separately. And they, as you wrote, they were gaslighting Diana, saying that if she was more confident and a better person, that Charles wouldn't have cheated, basically.
Which is,
like, it's terrible. It's abusive shit.
It's horrible, and it was what they did to her when she was alive, and I can't believe they're still doing it when she's dead. Like, they always did that to her, especially during the separation. Like, that was when Charles really launched a campaign against Diana to make her sound crazy.
That's what a lot of men do when their wives leave them, except it's not on the world stage, you know?
Yeah, and like Charles and Camilla and all of their aristocratic friends, they were always like, oh, Diana was a non-starter because she was absolutely hysterical. She was crazy and blah, 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 blah. And they're still running that play.
Yeah, it's lame. It's very lame. And there's this investigation now into her 1995 interview with Martin Bashir, the famous one where she talked about how poorly she was treated and about her bulimia, where she disclosed that as well. And there's this documentary that aired on ITV a little bit ago called The Diana Interview, Revenge of a Princess. Mm-hmm. And in that, they say that Bashir blackmailed Diana's brother with some fake bank statements. And so the interview was obtained under dire circumstances or whatever. But you were writing, like, Diana wanted to talk. She wanted to tell this information. So
right, like, both sides can be true. Like, Martin Bashir is a slime ball. I'm not going to defend the guy. He's a lousy excuse for a journalist. And I have no doubt that he committed some sort of fraud and falsified documents to blackmail both Diana and her brother. Mm-hmm. But I also think that Diana was very clever about her PR, and she wanted to do a big interview that would have a huge impact.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted, like, the biggest audience ever. And at that moment, it was BBC Panorama. And she planned it out perfectly. I'm almost certain that she and Martin Bashir, like, rehearsed everything. I seem to remember that.
And you know, because you've been studying her for decades. You have. And so Prince William made a public statement, which is pretty rare for him. He usually just has sources talk for him, that he supports the investigation. So
yeah, William's statement was pretty vague. He was just basically co-signing the investigation that's already happening. He's saying, yeah, you go ahead, investigate it. I would like to know that too. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit weird that people are blaming Bashir for, like, everything that Diana said. No, she was going to say that shit to somebody. It just happened to be Bashir.
Yeah. He got the interview of his lifetime.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about politics. It just never ends, but at least we're well on the other side of it. Well, say what they're doing. What are the Republicans doing?
Rat-fucking.
There you go. I never heard you say it out loud. I just love it when you write that. We have to censor it in our site.
So we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, just a few hours after Rudy Giuliani gave a press conference, not at Four Seasons Total Landscaping, although this one might have topped Four Seasons Total Landscaping. So Rudy Giuliani had like sprayed in some dye in his hair, and he started leaking dye as he was
I saw that.
expounding on all of these ridiculous conspiracy theories. And then he failed to quote from My Cousin Vinny.
Okay, that's literal because I saw that on Twitter. I was taking a nap this afternoon and they said Rudy Giuliani with the My Cousin Vinny argument, and I thought it was just a joke. I didn't know.
No, he was like, My Cousin Vinny, that's one of my favorite movies. And he started like totally misrepresenting one of the plot lines. Thank God he didn't say you.
Like, oh my God. You'd stomping his foot. So he's representing Trump in court now, making an ass out of himself.
And did you read any of those like Twitter threads about his appearance in court in Pennsylvania?
A little bit,
bonkers.
Yeah.
The lawyers that were following it were freaking out like at how bad Giuliani is at everything. He didn't understand like very basic legal terms. He didn't understand strict scrutiny and stuff like that. And so, yeah, obviously putting Giuliani in charge of your legal defense is basically admitting that you're a Russian asset at this point.
Yeah. Everybody else quit. All the legal firms were like, well, we really can't risk our reputations any longer. Because their associates were telling them, we're not going to do this anymore.
Not even reputations, like, there were lawyers who were in danger of being disbarred if they continued to try to represent Trump with these bogus claims.
They were just kind of talking in circles. So Trump's been tweeting crazy shit as normal, but it's like a little bit worse, although that's hard to judge. And you wrote he has a Grey Gardens vibe now, hiding out in his baby bunker.
Vanity Fair wrote it first. I just made it into the headline, but it's so true.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's in his baby bunker. We've only seen him twice since he lost the election. Once when he was fuming at Veterans Day at Arlington. And then the second, he gave a press conference about the pandemic in which he took credit for all the good stuff and, blamed everybody else for all the bad shit.
Yeah.
He was so muted, and I guess he was depressed. That's what he looks like when he's depressed. And he was literally pouting. He was sticking out his lips and pouting during the press conference.
He's not even bothering to spray paint his hair. Oh, Giuliani stole his hairspray paint. That's why he's going gray now.
And so, yeah, Trump has just been in his little baby bunker. He refuses to work, refuses to be president, even though
we don't want him to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, that part is fine. But meanwhile, like, thousands of people are dying a day of the coronavirus. Yeah. And at the very fucking least, just concede the election and start moving this stuff around so that President Biden can get to work.
Yeah, there's millions of dollars that he needs to get his cabinet and his staff running. So Obama was on 60 Minutes, and he's telling it very much like it is. It's good to see him, and I'm glad that he's doing that.
He's promoting his book, A Promised Land.
Oh, yeah.
And he did the 60 Minutes interview, and he just looked depressed, though. I don't think Obama was depressed about Biden. I think he was just depressed about the state of the country. And it is depressing.
Yeah, there's a horrible pandemic.
Yeah, Obama's just depressed that, like, the Republicans really are these giant assholes and fascists, and they don't believe in democracy anymore. If they ever did.
No, they're trying to throw out votes. And now they're nitpicking over what states they can influence and recount, and it's despicable. Mm-hmm. So we talked in Zoom about this and just generally how we were feeling. And this is Karen, Amira, Karen, Amira, and Angelina. I had to scroll down. I was like, who was talking?
Does anybody feel like the election happened like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes. It was 2 weeks ago, and it feels like it was like 2 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I told Katie, I mean, he's acting like the abusive ex that just refuses to accept it's over.
He's like Sofia Vergara's ex, the one that's like with the embryos and all that craziness. Like, just get away, like, move on. It's done. With all the drama and stuff, you're right. It feels like 2 years ago. Like, I'm just over it. He's a little baby throwing his temper tantrums, and
he's just mad that Black people voted him out, and all their efforts to try to suppress votes backfired spectacularly.
Did you hear that he's paying, like, the cost was, I think, $8 million to get a full recount in, is it Michigan or is it Wisconsin?
It's
Wisconsin, yeah.
And he
right, but he didn't want to pay the $8 million, so he's cut it down to just pay the $3 million, but the $3 million is only for the counties with the Black people in them.
Yes, okay, which one is the blackest? Yeah, this one. I want to
pay for that.
So, yeah, they don't want to count votes in certain counties in Wisconsin, and they tried to influence the vote certification in Michigan, because of course they did. And when it got certified, Trump then called the two Republicans who he thought would stump for him and tried to get them to take it back. They tried to take it back. It's just a fucking mess.
Yeah. And I mean, Rudy Giuliani underlined the whole point of the Trump legal strategy now is that votes in predominantly Black cities don't count. That's the whole Trump argument. That's their legal strategy, is that votes in Detroit and Atlanta don't count.
Yeah, because Black people voted.
Yeah.
They've been consistently very racist and horrible. And there's nobody who can say now that Republicans stand for being fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
Pro-business, pull up by your bootstraps. No, they're despicable, fucking terrible people.
I saw this tweet and it was such a good point, and I forget who said it, but did you notice during this entire election cycle, we didn't have to hear about economic insecurity? That was the big code word in 2016 for racism.
People tried to pull that shit.
Yeah.
And I've still heard it a little bit here and there. But it's so lame. I think it's even stupid to say that when we're talking about individual dumbass voters in the sticks where you and I live. They're just fucking racist.
Yeah. There are guys in my gym and I'm like, I look at them and I know that they're fucking white supremacists. They're not economically insecure.
They drive huge ass trucks.
Yeah, they drive huge ass trucks. They work a 9-to-5 job. Sometimes they're white collar. And they're just fucking racist dumbasses.
Yeah, and I've heard it out of the mouths of those types of people around here, and it's gross. Mm-hmm. All right, we talked about this in Zoom. I wanted to play this section just basically about how terrible Republicans are. This is Ashley, Karen, and Amira again.
Yeah. If it's not lining their pockets or keeping them in power, then they don't want it. And they don't care if you die in the street. They're willing to put kids in cages. They're willing to let kids die at elementary schools when it's something as simple as, like, not take all your guns away, but, you know, gun safety, gun control. They're idiots and they're heartless. They would kill their own family members. We sitting in a situation where anything could happen.
And it's so funny how some of these Republicans are like the Lincoln Project. I'm like, this is who y'all have always been. All Trump did was just bring it out. And so they're all kind of clutching their pearls and like, what's happened to the Republican Party? I'm like, this is who y'all have always been. Y'all just saying the quiet part out loud now.
Exactly. I was literally going to say all that's happening. The only difference is the Republican Party is saying the things out loud that they used to say behind closed doors and quietly. That's the only thing that's changed.
Yeah, they're saying the quiet part out loud. And I hope that the Republicans are decimated, but sadly, there's still people voting for them. Luckily, it's less than who vote on our side, and I hope we can continue to get these numbers of people out, especially in the Georgia runoff elections.
Yeah, I do feel like for most of our lives, I mean, my life, your life, I mean, the Republican Party we always knew that they were racist, but they kept the thin veneer up. You know, they would speak in dog whistles, and Trump destroyed that thin veneer. And so now it's just, they're naked. We see all of the ugliness.
And it's disheartening how many people supported that, but hopefully we'll make enough changes that, you know, the people who vote with the popular vote can win elections. All right, let's move on to the user feedback. So this is what I mentioned last week, the nice messages I got that I was saving. So Katrina sent us a message on Facebook. She wrote, I love you girls so much. Chandra's laugh makes me chuckle all the way to work in rural Australia. I'm working my way through your episodes and hearing her laugh about Trump gives me so much joy. A lot of people love it when you make fun of Trump. So thank you, Katrina.
Thanks, Katrina.
And Jackie sent me an email. Jackie's also abroad. She said, I wanted to say a quick thank you for the political reporting you guys have been providing. I'm an American citizen living abroad and have become panicked by the behavior of the GOP and their wannabe mafia don. Your articles keep me going and keep me from spiraling into despair. So please keep up what you're doing. I'm sure there are others who depend on you as well. So thank you, Chandra. Everybody loves your political articles and how plainly and matter of fact you are.
Thanks.
Not plainly. I said that wrong, but yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. What
are the Republicans?
Rat-fuckers.
What do they do?
They're rat-fuckers. They are. I mean...
They are total rat-fuckers. I never heard that before. You started using it, and I was like, that's awesome.
It's from the Watergate era.
Okay.
my dad, who had just immigrated to America, like when Watergate was happening, he always called them water buggers. He thought that was really funny, and but like the water buggers, they would call themselves rat fuckers. That was just like messing with the election. That's what it is.
Oh, so it means messing with the election. Okay. I just thought it meant like a terrible I don't know.
No, yeah. A rat fucker is someone who is committing fraud or fucking up an election.
Oh, okay. It's very specific. I didn't even know that. Yeah. It's awesome. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on Hecate's post about Nigella Lawson's 2-stage toast buttering process. I was watching the video and it's crazy how much fucking butter she puts on this toast. Her method is like she toasts it, she puts butter on so it melts, and then she waits and puts even more butter on so it's totally covered in butter. And she uses unsalted butter so she could put more salt on it, which I respect that part because I like butter. I like salt. I don't like butter. Excuse me. So, no, I'll put a little butter on, but I'm mostly into jam. I'm a jam person.
Well,
are you a butter person?
I don't eat toast that much. But
okay.
Like if I'm making potato anything, I'm like, ooh, butter. No, I put margarine. Butter is good on usually. Potatoes. I do margarine.
Oh, okay. We use regular salted butter, and then I'll put more salt on it if it's a potato or something. So I liked it when all the people were like, oh, I love butter. This is awesome. Finally, somebody who likes butter too. So my comment of the week is from Scarlett, and she wrote, that is exactly the method I use and have used for butter on toast all my life. It's how my mom did it, and I do the same. I feel validated now. Usually people just assume I am a butter fiend, which I am, but thanks, Nigella. I'm just a butter on toast connoisseur now, thanks to your method. I thought that was cute.
You know what I am curious about? Like, just speaking about butter, I always look at the Irish butter at the grocery store and I'm like, ooh, I want
Why is it $5?
Because it's made from unpasteurized.
Oh.
Don't you think?
It's like a giant block of butter.
Well, that too.
Versus the sticks. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just curious about Irish butter. I wonder if it's, like, if you can really taste the difference. Anyway.
Well, let's do that. We'll get the 2 butters and we'll make a taste test.
All right. Well, my comment of the week is from Rudy Giuliani acting like a complete clown in federal court in Pennsylvania. And Josephine says, I'm not sure who is more pathetic, Trump thinking that Rudy is capable of lawyering or Rudy thinking that Trump is actually going to pay him. Because in that article, Rudy is quoted in the New York Times as saying he thinks he's worth $20,000 a day, but he's going to work it out with the Trump people after he wins.
They're never going to pay him, ever. Never.
But honestly, Rudy would probably do this for free.
Yeah, just for the publicity. Oh, he is going to be doing it for free. Trumps don't pay anybody.
And I keep thinking about what you told me about the Instagram girl that he has for his publicist.
Mike at Pajama was writing about that, yeah. Oh, and her boobs hanging out. Oh. All right, thanks for listening, bitches. Don't fuck Republicans.
Don't fuck Republicans. Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.